Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Today you join me in Nashville, Tennessee with a rapid red metallic Ford Maverick all-wheel drive Lariat. And this actually has the first edition package as well with the Falcon Wild Peaks and some unique graphics. Let's go for a first drive. You join me now in the 2022 Ford Maverick Lariat First Edition. This one has the EcoBoost and the all-wheel drive. And that's paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. And going through some of the options here, this one does have Ford Copilot 360, which means it has adaptive cruise control here on the steering wheel. The First Edition package does add a tonneau cover, power tilt slide moonroof, and a 17-inch unique wheel. This one does have the Lariat luxury package as well, which adds the trailer hitch receiver, 6 bed connectors for tying things down, spray liner or spray and bed liner. It has front liners without carpeted mats, and this one is a rapid red metallic with desert brown trim on the interior. I don't have an MSRP on this one. This one also has the 8-inch touchscreen, as is standard on every Maverick. And let's reset the trip menu here, if I can figure out how. There we go, resetting. And if you haven't already, check out my review of the hybrid, or first drive of the hybrid version of the Maverick for a good comparison. Because like I said, this one is the EcoBoost, so it should be a bit different. Yes.
Branden.
Yes.
$249. Got all your stuff.
Perfect. Thank you.
Enjoy.
And we're going to be taking this on some kind of back roads here in Nashville, Tennessee, or outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And like I've mentioned, this one being a first edition, it does have 17-inch wheels and it has Falcon Wild Peaks on it, which are a little bit more of an aggressive, I don't really want to call them an all-terrain tire, but they're definitely more on the all-terrain side than they are on the highway driving side. And let's see how the power is once we get out onto the main road here. I'm going to floor it for you guys. It's pretty quick. I'm actually pretty impressed. 8-speed auto, shifts well. There are no paddles or any way to shift it manually, but the shifts seem pretty crisp. Held RPMs pretty high. Powertrain calibration so far seems pretty good. Tip-in throttle response is solid. Pretty quiet even with the all-terrain tires, but you definitely do hear some of that tire noise. Unfortunately, this one does have the 6.5-inch instrument cluster screen rather than the smaller screen that's available on the base models, the XL. And this does have a little bit nicer appointments on the interior. You've got a wrapped steering wheel with stitching rather than just the soft touch plastic steering wheel on the other trims. Got a little bit different interior design, and with the first edition you do have some exterior graphics as well. We're going to be driving this about 25 miles for about an hour back into Nashville as part of this Ford First Drive event, and I'll have to try out the Bang & Olufsen sound system as well, but that I'll have to do off camera so we don't get copyright infringement, and I will be sure to report that. But so far this is really nice. I do like the speed readout being large while also still displaying the drive data. From a dynamic standpoint, so far the all-wheel drive doesn't seem to really make any difference. If anything, these tires seem to be making a larger difference than the all-wheel drive itself. Let's just see here as we kind of pick up the pace maybe. Not too fast, but let's see how it does when we floor it out of this slight corner here. I definitely feel the back end is pushing us along a little bit more than the front wheel drive would have been, kind of pulling us through the corner and like clawing at the ground essentially. This does feel a little bit more composed. So if you live in an environment with less traction, you may want this rather than just the front wheel drive. But if you're just going to be putting around a city, especially in a more mild climate, I think the front wheel drive will be very adequate. I was very impressed with the hybrid's fuel efficiency, so definitely be sure to check out that video as well. And let's focus on the 2-liter EcoBoost. It doesn't seem to have turbo lag. It seems to have a little bit of transmission shifting lag more than it does turbo lag. Yeah, so it downshifts and then it lets it rip. So by the time it's downshifted, the boost has already built up, since I assume this is a very small turbo. With the EcoBoost engine, it does make 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. That torque does come on a little bit earlier than on the hybrid version. However, I don't have numbers for when the torque comes in from the actual hybrid aspect of the hybrid system to make a truly valid comparison for real-world driving dynamics. And this one does have a sunroof. It has a shade, which is quite nice. It does cut on the headroom a fair amount. If I was any taller, it would be making an impact, and I'm 6'2". So definitely, if you're pretty tall, skip the sunroof and just get the steel roof version. You get a lot more headroom. And let me just try out the Bang & Olufsen sound system here, and I'll get back to you guys in a few minutes with my impressions. I've been jamming out to the Bang & Olufsen sound system here with some Odessa and some other stuff, and I must say I am very impressed. The low notes, the high notes, the spatial clarity, there's no resonant frequencies that are rattling or making weird noises. Ford and Bang & Olufsen did a very good job with this sound system. I would say if you're into audio or appreciate good audio systems, you probably want the Bang & Olufsen system. But is it worth moving up to the Lariat? I'm not 100% sure if it's available on the XLT. That I'm not sure of. So we're just going to be continuing driving here. This vehicle does have auto start stop, so that's activated here. It shut off and then it turned back on because we do have the AC going fairly aggressively. It's a bit hot outside. It's about 83 degrees, but it's Nashville, so it's pretty humid. And we're just going to be continuing to drive. This car does have a wireless charge pad down in the console. However, it does not have wireless CarPlay, so it's not really all that advantageous in my opinion. But let's just keep going here and we'll see how it does once we can kick on the adaptive cruise control as we get into a little bit more traffic. Not set here. Let's see if I can figure this out as we go. Oh, so it has lane centering assist, so we'll have to see how that goes. So I'm not entirely sure how you set this. I think if we just do it like that. Okay, so we're on adaptive cruise control. That's how you adjust the speed. So you press this upper right button. That's what activates it. We'll turn up the speed here to kind of speed limit. And you can adjust the following distance with this upper left button. And we'll turn on lane centering. Feels pretty good. Definitely you can feel it working. And it canceled. That's interesting. I'm not sure why. Or at least it canceled part of it. I'm not super familiar with Ford's adaptive cruise control systems here. Let's see how it does braking. I've got my foot ready to grab. And it did that all on its own. Seems to be doing pretty good. And fuel economy update here. We've driven about 11 miles. After flooring it a few times, I took it pretty easy while I was jamming out. And we're so far averaging 22 miles per gallon. So if fuel economy is the concern, I would definitely say the hybrid is the way to go. However, the EcoBoost does have some advantages. You can get the all-wheel drive system. You can get the 4K tow package for maximum towing that's available on the Maverick. That adds a 7-pin connector. It adds a transmission cooler. It adds a trailer brake controller. So if you need that, you need that. You don't really have a whole lot of choice in whether you can get the hybrid. I'm not a huge fan of this bronze accenting with the brown, but that's just personal preference. I actually like the cloth with the more gray accenting in the base XL a little bit more. The orange in the XLT is pretty nice. I didn't get the chance to shoot a video with that, but I did take some photos and I got to check that out. So the brakes are a little bit stabby here in adaptive cruise control, at least once it gets down to pretty low speed, because we're sitting in quite a bit of traffic here. It looks like we're going to be hitting a fair amount of traffic as we head back into essentially downtown Nashville. And then we'll do a little bit of sightseeing, take some photos. But the Maverick does seem quite composed overall. It drives very well. I think if you're in the market for a small truck, and you want all-wheel drive and the ability to tow 4,000 pounds, well, you don't have an option in the Maverick line but to get the all-wheel drive with the EcoBoost. I must say, if I was in the market for a small truck like this, I would personally save my money and probably go at the hybrid for better fuel efficiency and a little bit base trim, but I think it's very adequate. And if you start adding a lot of options onto this, it gets into different price category that I don't think it necessarily shoots in as well. This first edition is priced around $36,000, which is almost twice the price of the hybrid base model that I drove previously in another video. Be sure to check that out. And quite frankly, I don't think it's worth $17,000 more. Or to put it in perspective, almost double. You could almost buy two of the base hybrid for the same price as this one loaded first edition EcoBoost all-wheel drive. And while it is nice, I don't think it's worth that much more. So my personal take, get the base model, accessorize it how you wish to better suit your needs. Maybe do some aftermarket upgrades, do some DIY upfitting, or even have a shop do it. You got a lot of money to spare if you're saving $17,000. But if you're looking for the luxury in a small truck, well, I think this suits the bill. Let me know what you guys think down below. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with the Maverick as a whole, but I personally don't see the value proposition for the loaded model. I think the best value is when you get the lower model. Thank you guys for watching.